Welcome to the Real Reflections podcast, co-hosted by Dave Nelson in Carrington, North Dakota, and myself, Grant Nelson, here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio. Hello, Dave. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I guess we're enjoying winter again. We've went from winter to spring and back to winter again, so...
Honestly, I'm not enjoying winter, not even one little bit. I was really ready for spring, and when I woke up the other morning and we had about 12 inches of snow and I had to fight my way into work, I thought, oh, here we go again with this stuff. Although the one thing I thought right away is I wish I had have gotten my frost seeding done, but we had enough snow I couldn't get to the cedar, because if I had to put that seed or that clover seed down and then had snow on top of it, boy, that would have been about perfect. But, missed opportunity. What can you do?
Yeah, well, you guys sound like you got it worse than we do anyway. We had, I don't know, somewhere between 6 and 8 inches here, and we had rain. Actually, I went and put some garbage, or was going to put some garbage in the back of my pickup, and I had just closed the tailgate before I went in the house to get it, and I came back out, and I was going to put it in the back of the pickup, and it was raining, and it had frozen right away. I couldn't get the tailgate open, and that took place within 15 minutes of having it open. So that's how it started, and then something in the vicinity of 6 to 8 inches of fresh, new, white stuff, and had a wind, of course. We always have wind out here, so we had snow drifts, and it was the return to winter again, sort of. And now, this morning, we started out at about 7 above, so.
And the people southwest of you, that getting snow out there must have been a real surprise to them. They've had brown grass for the last couple of weeks, haven't they?
I think it's probably longer than that, even, from what I've been hearing, anyway. I talked to a guy in, can't remember where it is. It's where you ever been on Interstate 94 out by Richardson, where the Enchanted Highway starts?
Oh, yeah, I sure have. Yeah, all those big statues there cut out of steel.
Yeah. At Gladstone is where it was. And we went out there and picked up a tractor probably 2 weeks ago, and they were completely brown then, no sign of any kind of snow out there. And they hadn't had a lot. They get a snow out there, and then they get a warm wind, and it melts, and it kind of comes and goes. There's kind of like when you get into South Dakota, you get into western North Dakota, western South Dakota, they can get those warm winds.
Tell me how High Plains Equipment is handling the COVID-19 pandemic. I can tell you, here at Thief River Falls Radio, we've got the front door locked, and there's no access at all. What are you guys doing?
There's no access for the customers without either calling and having parts set out for them, or occasionally we'll have a reason we have to open the door for them, but we're pretty much operating by phone, and that as far as communicating back and forth. I have guys pull up to my door, and all of a sudden they're calling me, and they were there to pick something up or whatever. But so we're distancing ourselves from them. The people at the dealership are all working, and we're trying to keep our distance. No, I don't want anybody in the coffee room to have coffee. There's no shared foods or cookies or anything like that for them. And we're walking around and misting keyboards and doorknobs, and any place where there's a lot of traffic. So I don't know what else we can do. We're trying to do as much as we can and still stay operating, because we are, an essential service by definition. And in a month, we're going to be a very essential service if farmers put a crop in.
Oh boy, it's going to start cooking in about a month here, because it's going to take a little while to get rid of this snow. It wasn't a ton of frost in the ground, but once it gets cooking, it's definitely going to have to get moving around here. There's no doubt about that. One more thing, I thought about that too. We've been keeping all of our keyboards and wiping them down as much as we possibly can. However, all this social distancing of 6 feet of separation, and maybe not even talking to each other as much, All us Norwegian Swedes, we don't call that social distancing. We call it a welcome relief.
Yeah, keeping our distance. Yeah, keep your distance.
Instead of a tractor of the week this week, I thought with all the soft ground, and I know that you have some expertise in it, I thought we'd talk about those huge tires that they're using to replace tracks on combines and tractors and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, I know a little bit about them. Actually, when it was much earlier and terribly muddy, they weren't much good because what they did is they push mud ahead of them, and then people would actually get stuck or couldn't move, and then they'd try and back up, and it just more or less piled mud behind or ahead of them.
Okay.
So a lot of people that had bought them early on took them off and put the tracks on, and with the tracks they were able to go, and then later on they put the big tires on after it froze, which seemed to help them somewhat, because when the ground was froze, it's pretty rough when you ride on tracks on frozen ground, and so those big tires were smoothly riding. So that's what we're seeing on quite a few of the combines that are finishing up now. We're probably, at least in this immediate area, we're probably 90% done.
Now those big,
some of that 10% that's left probably won't get done.
Yeah, probably not. Now those big tires, do they have the kind of the same ground pressure as tracks, or is there one better than the other as far as that goes?
Well, there's not. It's interesting, but tracks put a long footprint on the ground. Where a tire, if it's stuck, it has its biggest footprint on the ground.
Yep.
But when it's just driving, there's not near the square inches that you have with a track. So they work. Actually, they guys say they work really good right now, or not right now, but probably 2-3 weeks ago, when it was still, the ground was frozen quite well. But so they both have a place. It's just that early on, when it was mushy, and it was terrible around here for harvesting, and they would just drive along and pile mud in front of them. So they changed the tracks, and basically with the tracks, you just cut through it, and it's got enough surface to hold the machine up. So as far as which is better, it just depends on the conditions.
I was thinking when you were talking about that pushing mud, I remember with the old M when we used to go pick rock. Remember they had that narrow front, and you'd get a little bit of weight on the front there, especially if it was wet at all out there. And all of a sudden, you didn't have two steering wheels or wheels that could be steered in front of the tractor. You basically had a plow bottom.
Yeah, and if it was wet enough, you had a plow bottom that was buried a couple feet deep.
It's changed a lot since then. I know you sent me a picture of that one Ford tractor sitting over there at High Plains Equipment, and it's got such big tires on it. It looks like one of those little toys you get at the farm store.
Yeah, that guy finished up his harvesting, and then he found a secondary use for his wide tires that he had on his combine, and he put them on his tractor. So they're nice ride with them.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of flotation out of them. Most of these tires are called an LSW, or a low sidewall tire, so they don't get so terribly high because they try to keep, they're still the same height of the tire. But along with these great big tires now, they've had to add some height even. So a lot of things get a little taller now when they put those big tires on. But this guy's going to try his planting with it, because he said it doesn't matter if he's on top of the row or between the rows, when it comes to planting this spring, because we know it's going to be wet.
Yeah. And
so he wants the flotation stay up out of the mud.
Plus, it's nice when you go to the monster truck run on the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. They could probably hire him to pull the wrecks off the field or something.
Tell you what, it'd look about right with that. Well, I suppose I better let you go, Dave. You got anything else for us this week?
No, I guess not. Hope the snow is going to melt this week. That's the main thing.
That sounds good. And let's get through this COVID-19 thing. You stay safe, okay?
All right, you too.
Thanks very much. There he is, my brother Dave from Carrington, North Dakota. And I'm Grant Nelson here at the studios of Thief River Falls Radio with Rural Reflections, Colin Dave, your podcast.